So yes, very nice to meet you. Is that the only song? I don't have any RAD.
Good evening. Test. Okay, let's turn to the chest. Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, RAD. I am Judy Laughlin. I am the president of Richardson Area Democrats. I am so excited about such a great crowd tonight for the justices, because what we know is without justice, there is no liberty. And as we are commemorating 250 years of being an independent country, we know that that term of freedom is thrown about quite a bit, but we don't really have true freedom when we don't have true justice. When rule of law is at a whim, we don't have true freedom. So tonight we are going to focus on our judicial candidates. We have candidates from statewide races and from more local races down to, I believe, very bottom. The last race on your ballot is going to be here tonight. So I hope that you all are excited about what we're going to hear about tonight. And let me just say one thing here before we get started. Y'all, this is so important to me that I woke up this morning having had a dream about it. Okay, so it's not even a dream. My dream is that I walked in here and it was really quiet. Like, I could hear myself, I couldn't hear other people talking, and everybody was like, wow, isn't that so nice that we can actually hear the person that's speaking? I'm not kidding, that is really my dream. That's how important it is to me. So what I want to say to you tonight is, if everybody who is talking right now would stop talking and just let me be the only one talking. See how that sounds? We can hear you. When you're just chit-chatting with other people, we can hear you. And up here, it's really distracting. So I want to give a lot of respect to the judges and judge candidates that have come tonight. From a long ways away, there is a judge that is still on the way up in the traffic and the weather. From Austin, we have a judge that came up from the Houston area, and we have really people that have a lot to do with their life, and they took time out to come here tonight. So thank you very much for the respect that you're going to show them. Thank you. How's everyone doing? We are going to go ahead and get started right off the bat with our nonprofit. We have a segment at the very beginning that we always do, and we have a very special guest tonight, so I'll let Sandy tell you about them.
Thank you, Jimmy. So far, good job being quiet. Thank you, Jimmy, for that dream last night. So a couple of meetings ago, Jennifer Wolf-Williams and her husband came up to me and said, well, Jennifer said, I'm the ED for a nonprofit, and I said, well, here we go for it. So anyway, this is how that came to be. Her organization is doing really important work. I think you guys are going to love to hear about it. Jennifer Wolf-Williams. Can you hear me in the back? All right. Not long ago, a friend stood in my kitchen and said anxiously, they took my uncle. A broken taillight, she explained, and that was the end of freedom for a man who had built a life here, raised a family, and established a business over the last few decades. But when my friend spoke those words, they took, I already knew. We all know those words because they took is part of the American fabric these days. But there's something else you need to know. Right here in Richardson, a small nonprofit works every day to lift the voices of people in the U.S. immigration system, here and across all 48 contiguous states. Humanitarian outreach for migrant emotional health, or HOME as we call ourselves, has a staff of 2. And a team of about 70 mental health professionals. We document immigrants' trauma histories and assess their mental health, and we've shown the connection between the two. And in our reports stand as evidence in immigration court. It's getting harder these days, but our work can still change the case outcomes. More than 15 years ago, my husband Peter and I moved to Richardson from Northeast Oklahoma because I felt an unshakable desire, an unshakable need to serve immigrants and asylum seekers. As a volunteer trauma therapist for people in the asylum process, I met amazing people from around the globe who shared their rich knowledge and their kindness that they had brought with them. But the first step in treating a trauma survivor is to help them feel safe in the here and now, and my clients were not safe. No court had affirmed their right to protection, their right to remain in the United States. The border is everywhere. Home is still based in Richardson, but we are ready when someone is detained or needs help across state lines. Sometimes people ask me whether curtailment of due process means this work won't matter anymore. But attorney requests for evaluations keep increasing. There are hundreds of thousands of active immigration cases in the U.S. interior, and there are judges who care and want to offer fair decisions. But they are under enormous pressure to deny every case. It's important to understand that while other U.S. judges are part of our independent judiciary branch, immigration judges are employed by the Department of Homeland Security and answer to the Attorney General. They are part of the executive branch. So they need, more than ever before, solid evidence that substantiates any positive decisions. Mental health evaluations are that evidence. So perhaps the biggest change for HOME is the sharp rise in requests on behalf of detained clients. These days, many of our clients are locked in ICE detention. And despite the extreme inaccessibility of detention centers, mental health evaluators have a unique opportunity to meet with detained individuals both in person and by telehealth, because we are part of their legal process to which they still have a right. What we've learned in these interviews is deeply troubling, and it offers a space for us to raise the alarm on behalf of our clients. Home also meets with U.S. citizen children of detained parents, and we've added more child specialists to our team to meet this need. Our expert testimony can still tend case outcomes. For example, Eduardo, not his real name, came here in search of safety after surviving political torture in Central America. His former captors were still sending threats, so the post-traumatic symptoms he exhibited were not really post. They were in the here and now. His fear was real. And his home evaluator made it clear to the court that Eduardo needed trauma-focused care, and more importantly, a safe and stable environment where he could begin to heal. The court agreed and granted Eduardo asylum and ordered him released from detention. Such outcomes are hard to come by, but they are still possible. Best case scenario, the person is granted legal protection, freedom, safety, and reunion with waiting families. But if not, our record is there for the appeal or litigation. It preserves our clients' histories so they do not disappear. This is hard work and sometimes feels overwhelming, especially because many of our clinicians are immigrants themselves or members of mixed-status families. Even so, our team commits to this work every single day, and we could use your help. If you know a nonprofit or pro bono immigration attorney whose clients might benefit from psychological assessment, please let them know about us. If you know a mental health professional who might want to join our team, please send them our way. And if you want to make sure the work of home continues every single day in these challenging times, please consider a financial gift. Home does not charge our immigrant clients, but we still need to pay the people who do the work. Our overhead is super lean, but our teams work intensely and we want to ensure they have what they need to keep going. I will be happy to give you a card with our QR code and website information, but in case you miss me, RAD has my contact information, and our website is homemigration.org. That's homemigration.org, all one word, no punctuation. And you can email me, Jennifer with one N, at homemigration.org. I really look forward to hearing from you and would like to tell you even more.
We will have Jennifer's organization on our website, rad.vote. We have a page that has all of the nonprofits that come and speak to us. So anytime you're wondering about where you can find, remember that one that you can go to our website, rad.vote, and you can get their information right there. So thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for joining us tonight. Before we go any further, I want to say that we have new people here tonight that just came because they got a text. They didn't know about RAD, they didn't know anything about us, but they got a text from Jeff. My mind just went blank. John Dalton, thank you, Jeff Dalton, and he did that for us. And so there are some people here tonight that just are here because they got a text. Would you raise your hand if you got a text? There we go in the back, and here right here. We've got several people here tonight. And I hope that you'll be left. Bring a friend. There are also some people in here that I think go unnoticed that I want to call out. We have a team of people that are the greeters, the people that check you in the evening, the people that follow up with you and that kind of thing. In the back, would you please raise your hand if you are on my greeting team? Thank you so much. It really does make a difference to have a friendly face when you come in to just say hi. There are other people here that are here for the first time that didn't get the text. So thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here tonight. And all of you who sometimes come often and sometimes come when you can, thank you for being here. It really is nice to have you. I want to acknowledge that we have some elected officials here tonight. Curtis Dorian is our councilman for Place 1 in Richardson. Joe Corcoran is here also, Place 4, our councilman in Richardson. Is there anybody else that is an elected official here tonight that I know we've got some judges that are running for something else, but I'll introduce you as we go. So thank you to our councilman for coming tonight. Thank you so much. We also have some candidates who are not going to be able to come up and speak tonight. Zach Herbert is here. He is our candidate for HD 112. His new, I like his new, tagline is unbutton HD 112. And we have Keenan Colbert in the back, who is running for Senate District 2. He is going to take out Bob Hall from that office, and yes, thank you very much. I got one of Keenan's t-shirts today. He's got it on, but I will have one on too. And I encourage you all to support these guys, help them out. They have a high mountain decline, but it's nothing that these guys cannot do. I know that we've got great candidates here. I want to call out also that Joe Corcoran, our councilman, is also running for the appraisal district in Collin County. And so that's something that we need to make sure that we're going to be supporting him on. And I think that's all the introductions I wanted to do. Oh, I do want to say this before we go further than this portion of it. Our candidates are out knocking on doors. How many of you have been out knocking on doors with our candidates? Thank you. Thank you. I've been out on Sunday, and I put my picture of walking out there, and I don't want you guys to think that I want attention or something. I get it, enough attention. I know I do want attention apparently, but anyway, that's not why I put my picture up on Facebook. I want you guys to know that it is possible to go out on these hot days and knock on doors, and then it's worth it. I knocked on 40 doors, and probably 20 doors opened to me, and they, except for one, said they were going to be voting for my candidate. So, it makes a difference. They did not know who was running. Knocking on doors makes a difference. So if you can knock on doors, there are things to do. Zach has actually brought some turfs with him and some literature in case you want to get some and do some work with that. Kim Farrar is our precinct chair right behind him in that, and she's helping with his campaign. So There's that coming up. If you don't want to or can't at this point knock on doors, there are things to do. There is phone banking. On Tuesday night, Megan has got some information that you can do phone banking. You can go to the place and do the phone banking with them, and I think that you can probably also not even have to go, right? You can do it from home. So they have the tools for you to be able to just make a phone call from your own air-conditioned house and be able to connect with people. We're going to be doing a lot more of this, you guys. We have got to do everything that we can, in every way that we can, to win this year. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but things are bad. We've got some really crazy stuff going on. We've got crazy candidates that are running on the other side, and we have got to win. We have got to win. So every one of us has to do everything that we can. And we are going to have a lot of opportunities for you to help with that. And you'll find your place. You'll find the thing that you can do that will make that difference, and you will feel better doing it, don't you? Yeah. So without further ado, we tonight are, as I mentioned earlier, focusing on our judicial races. I am going to start with the race at the very bottom of the ballot. My very good friend, Urban Barrett, is running for Justice of the Peace. Come on up.
I was so hoping to come before all of these great judicial candidates, so I'm excited to be first. My name is Urban Barrett. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Place 3 here in Collin County. Most of the time, people ask me the question, what does a Justice of the Peace do? Justice of the Peace handles cases under $20,000, handles truancy cases. If there are tenant-landlord disputes, that comes through the Justice of the Peace Court. What I like to share with people is that if you're in any other court, especially the higher courts, you're really in trouble. But if you're in the Justice of the Peace Court, you're kind of not so much a whole lot of trouble. The likelihood of us encountering a Justice of the Peace is a little more likely than it is in the other court system. So I'm running because I see the need. I recognize the need. I ran in 22, and I had a strong campaign, came in second place. This time we're running to win. So I'm seeking support. Yes. I know that many of you live in Dallas County, which is fine. I know that you know people everywhere, so I'm asking that you would remember my name and encourage those who know, who live in the Collin County area to remember me. We're seeking support. We need people who are interested in making a difference. I've been a pastor for 34 years. I've been an insurance agent. I'm a hospice chaplain. I've learned what compassion is all about. We need people serving who understand what compassion means, especially in the judicial system. I'm appreciative of this time. Thank you so much for this moment. Please remember me, Urban Lynn Barrett, for Justice of the Peace, Collin County, Place 3. Thank you.
Remember to vote for Urban. That would make a difference in people's lives to have him in that place. I am going to introduce Judge Monica Purdy here to come up and speak to us. She is running for 5th District Board of Appeals, Place 6.
All right, good evening, the Richardson area Democrats. Thank you so much for having me. As she mentioned, I am Judge Monica Purdy. I currently sit in a district court in Dallas County. It is the trial court. It's a court of general jurisdiction. Typically, what results at the end of my day is there's a judgment that is being entered for money damages. So I don't sit on a criminal bench where I am sending people off to a corrections facility or having to incarcerate them. It is a civil court. This is my second term in this office. To give you just a little brief overview of sort of my experience, I have over 30 years of civil experience. I started out in our municipal court there in Dallas. It is a court that has civil and criminal jurisdiction. If you've ever received a traffic ticket, then you probably went to municipal court to either dispute that traffic ticket or resolve it. In Dallas, our municipal courts also hear sort of our neighborhood types of disputes, i.e. nuisance properties, things of that nature, and even if a property maybe has to be demolished because there is bad activity happening on the property. So I did that for many years, and then I came over to our district courts. For about 7.5 years, I was a magistrate judge. A magistrate judge essentially is we have 2 of them in Dallas in our civil district courts. They handle all of the overflow from our 13 courts so that those particular courts can be freed up just to try cases. When you are in the district court, you are filing because you want a trial, and you want a trial with your peers on that jury. And so I did a lot of that motion work, and then the judge that was sitting in the current court that I'm on, the 95th District Court in Dallas County, he was running for the Court of Appeals. And some of you may know him, Judge Ken Mulder, Justice Mulder. I ran for his particular seat when he went up, and I won that particular seat. I'm in my second term. So, to tell you a little bit about the 5th District Court of Appeals, I was explaining to some of the ladies here, there are only 2 courts higher than the 5th District Court of Appeals. It sits in Dallas. However, it is going to hear appeals from 6 counties. 6 counties being Dallas, Coughlin, Hunt, Grayson, Kaufman, and Rockwall counties. All right? And so if you are in a trial court and any court below, if you appeal the matter, either civil or criminal, it will land in the 5th District Court of Appeals. I think I started off mentioning there are 2 higher courts, which are the Supreme Court, the Texas Supreme Court, not the U.S., and we have a Court of Criminal Appeals. Those are the 2 higher courts, and then you have the intermediate 5th District Court of Appeals. Those particular courts have discretionary review, which means they can decide whether or not to accept a case to review. The Court of Criminal Appeals is going to automatically hear any death penalty cases. They're automatically going to be appealed to that court. What's different and unique about the 5th District Court of Appeals is we don't have discretionary review in that court. All right? You have to hear everything that comes before it. I have since found out the 5th District Court of Appeals, it was the 5th Court of Appeals created in the state of Texas, so it's been around since the 1800s. It is one of the largest appellate courts in our state, in the business. So when I'm talking to voters and I'm knocking on those doors and trying to get them engaged, I explain to them the 5th District Court of Appeals really is a court of last resort for many litigants. Because if you'll recall, when I mentioned the Supreme Court of Texas, they don't have to take the case. All right? So if you're going to get relief, you're going to get it in the 5th District Court of Appeals. And I also like to tell voters that, from the most simplest, broadest terms, we tell people the justices get to grade the trial court's papers. They're deciding, did you get an A, did you get a B, did you get a C, did you get a D? Who better to grade the paper than the person that has been writing the papers all this time? So I put my name in to run for that particular position. I am proud to be the Democratic nominee. Many of you have known this particular court has 13 justices. Currently, we are losing 3 Democratic justices because they are no longer running for office. They are retiring. All right? We don't want to have a court that is all Republican. There are still some Democrats there right now, but they're not up for re-election at this particular point. So I say that to say we can't afford to lose any leverage on this particular court. It's an extremely important court. Many of you know straight party voting went away. And so the down ballot candidates like myself and other judges, these are the people that are at risk. And I don't normally run on this cycle. I run on a presidential cycle. So I always get questions from people, who is not a judge? There are so many judges. I don't know who to vote for. People have fatigue and they just stop going down that ballot. So I'm asking for your support. I'm happy to talk to you, happy to tell you more about me and what I do, but I believe I'm well suited and well qualified for this particular position that I'm running for, and I would appreciate the vote in November. Again, Judge Monica Purdy for Justice, place 6.
There are 2 other judge candidates that are running also on the same court, the Fifth Court of Appeals, who were not able to be here tonight. They had other things that came up. Mandy Rychak is running on that, and Andrea Plumley are both running on for that same court. So please pay attention. Extremely important. We had a majority on that court up until last year, and I think that people just assume that because we're a blue county, that we're a blue area, that it was just going to carry on. And unfortunately, the Republicans understand that this is war, and they went to war against our candidates, and we lost some really good candidates on the Fifth Court of Appeals. So please make sure you vote all the way down and talk to people about it. We also have, Lynn Ginsburg. My mind just went blank. I'm sorry. Liz Ginsburg is here tonight. She's running for the 191st Court. And Liz is she's running, she'll be on the ballot, but she's unopposed, so she is actually already won. But
I need to know that. Be sure to vote. The worst thing would be to have 0 votes, right? Again, my name's Elizabeth Ginsburg, and I am running for the 191st Civil District Court. I expect to be taking office in January. This is the same kind of court that Judge Purdy sits on right now. It is a civil bench. The big categories of cases that these courts hear are personal injury disputes, including car wrecks. They also hear contract disputes and other types of business disputes, real estate disputes, and kind of a general civil case. The reason I ran for this court is because I think we are all seeing that the rule of law matters. And that when we have courts who are not willing to follow the law, whether you agree with it or not, and to ascertain facts, ascertain the truth, those are really the 2 big things. If you can do that, you are going to have a society that trusts their courts.
yes.
But what we're seeing with a lot of courts today, I don't think we see this in Dallas County, and I want to make sure we never do, is we see courts that are operating for an audience of 1 who aren't applying the rule of law. And I think we're seeing how degrading that can feel for society and how people feel like their voice doesn't matter. And one thing, before I ran for judge, I ran for state representative, so I have a bit more of a public record, I guess, out there. But I will tell you that I am putting that aside as a judge, but you know my values. And I think it's important to say that because we need fair courts that are not beholden to a single person or a single party. They need to be beholden to the truth, and they need to be beholden to following the law. And I'm committed to doing that. But that's why these judge these judge races really matter. And, you know, if it's your real estate dispute or your car wreck or whatever that's going in front of one of these courts, you want to know you've got a judge who's going to help make sure the facts are ascertained within the rule of law and make sure that a jury or a judge is considering those and able to fully consider the facts in the way that you want to tell your story. And that's what I'm committed to do. So again, my name is Elizabeth Ginsburg. Talk to your friends about why judges matter, because it matters to the rule of law. It's part of our democracy, and we've got to pay attention all the way down the ballot.
Speaking of courts that are appealing to one person, there is a new court that was created by the governor, and it is the 15th Court of Appeals. It's a statewide court, and Mark Myers has come from the Houston area to talk to us about his candidacy for that court.
Thank you. I got to walk into this. Thank you. Of course, my friend here, battery decided to die. So she hands a microphone to a lawyer and says 5 minutes, and he has 2 minutes. Type 2 minutes, you get stories then. There's a photographical story out there. I heard it about Woodrow Wilson, and I did some research on it. I'm not sure it came from him. But he said at some point in time, if you want me to speak for half an hour, give me 2 days to prepare. If you want me to speak for 10 minutes, give me a week to prepare. If you want me to speak for 5 minutes, give me a month to prepare. But if you want me to speak for an hour and a half, I'm ready to go right now. Another thing I'd like to bring up is, I hope everyone is paying attention to what is happening in South Texas right now. The Guadalupe River and several other rivers are rising down there. 500-year floods happening 2 years, happening 1 year apart. And that's going to be an issue that may be relevant in the 15th Court of Appeals. I'll get to that in a minute. Also, if you saw the videos yesterday of the tornado that went through San Antonio, my daughter's a senior at the University of Texas San Antonio, and the building that got its roof ripped off was in her apartment complex the first year she was down there. Luckily, she's home, so that's not an issue. My name is Mark Warren, and I'm running for the 15th Court of Appeals, Place 3, the most important civil appeals court that you've never heard of. I'm a retired Houston firefighter, a licensed registered nurse, and an attorney board certified in administrative law, an area of law which is very important to this Court of Appeals. How many of you have heard of the 15th Court of Appeals? And you judges, do not put your hands up. Okay. And how many of you, if you've heard about it from me? Usually that people put their hands in because they've heard about it from me. Because it started in 2024, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the type of cases it's dealing with here. If you have a license or certification from a state agency, you need to care about who's on the 15th Court of Appeals. If you care about AI data center issues, water use issues, or the Public Utility Commission, you should care about who's on the 15th Court of Appeals. If you care about constitutional or regulatory issues dealing with state government in Texas, cannabis, women's health care issues, environmental regulation, you should care about who's on the 15th Court of Appeals. 15th Court of Appeals is essentially Greg Abbott's end run around the 3rd Court of Appeals in Travis County. Why is that? Because the 3rd Court of Appeals is all Democrats now. And as Holly says, all women. So that's why Greg Abbott was around to run that Court of Appeals. There's another thing that's important this year for the 15th Court of Appeals. There will be 2 new positions. Now, the first 3 positions were appointed by Governor Greg Abbott in 2023, and they started in 2024. There are 2 new positions that are going to be appointed in 2027 and 2028. So we need to elect Gina Hinojosa governor because the governor is the individual who appoints new judges in the state of Texas. The district court governor. And my name is Mark Moyer. I'm running for the 15th Court of Appeals, but I'm not the only one who's running for the 15th Court of Appeals. Jerry Zuber running for Chief Justice of the 15th Court of Appeals. He's a former 14th Court of Appeals Justice. And Tom Baker is running for place 2. He's a former 3rd Court of Appeals Justice. Oddly enough, I'm the only one running for justice in this race that has not been a judge before. But I did run in 2020 in Montgomery County, Texas, for district judge. So I know what it's like to run into a red brick wall. Asking for your vote and for the vote from my 2 colleagues running for the 15th Court of Appeals. If you have any questions, I will be here because this court has a construction jurisdiction and it's very important.
Our next judicial candidate is at the state level. This is for the Court of Appeals, the Criminal Court of Appeals. Oki Anyan is running for place 3. We'll let him tell us about why he's running and what the Criminal Court of Appeals does.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for coming out here this evening. I know you have been within something else, but decided to come out and listen to us. I also want to acknowledge my beautiful wife, my inspiration, Judge Ivy. They are not here, but she is not here to support us, not just me. But then, okay, I'm here. I have been a criminal defense lawyer for over 28 years. The last county. I've been married for the last 4 years, the best years of my life. And together, my wife and I have 4 adult children. Now, I have been doing this law practice here in the North Texas area. So once in a while, I stray to some other areas where justice is required. Now, throughout my career, I work to see that the due process rights of my clients are upheld. I want to also make sure that justice is truly served. It doesn't necessarily always mean that my client's cases are disputed. Sometimes justice requires that they are accountable for their actions, but I make sure that their rights are preserved. Like yesterday, I helped a gentleman who was so difficult. He did not want to look at himself in the mirror and see that he put himself in the situation he was in. So it took me 3 rigorous days of court appearances to finally resolve these cases. There are 3 of them. Now, I'm running for the Texas Court of Appeals place 3. You don't really need to remember the place, just put down the ballot from top to bottom. That's all we need to do as Democrats. We're not really going to say, I'm going to vote for this person, I'm not going to vote for everyone. And I was just telling my man back there that for the first time, all 3 candidates for the Texas Court of Appeals are in the same room. You are going to see them later on. And I thought about it, if you can't do it, I hang out with them, I will take pictures because we haven't really been one place at the same time. All this time we'll be campaigning. Now, the Texas Court of Appeals is the court of last resort in all criminal cases in Texas. Now, when you hear that, you think, okay, it means if I have a criminal case, I can only go all the way to court. No. Just like Justice Paul said, not all cases go up there. In other words, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals has a discretionary review to review a case or not review a case. The only time the court must hear a case is when it involves death penalty, capital murder, or denial of bail. Otherwise, it's pick or choose. Now, my goal is to work with the other judges from the Court of Criminal Appeals to see that more cases are heard. Sometimes a case is good enough to be heard, but judges send legislation and say, oh no, we're not touching this. And another thing I would like to do is to work with the other judges to see that when an issue is very clear on the record, but it's not appealed on, to render guidance, give guidance on that, so that attorneys in the future will know how the law applies and what should be the case. And not, something happens and they say, oh, it's not before us, we leave it. Another thing is to follow the clear intention of the legislature and not legislate from the bench. This is why we need democrats at the Court of Criminal Appeals, because we democrats are more balanced in rendering justice, both at the trial level and the appellate level. We're not afraid to have bold people. Last cycle, there were some judges that did not want to do what the government wanted. They followed the law, and because they followed the law, the Attorney General of Texas came back and made it his duty to see that they were removed. So they ran primaries against them and they lost their benches. But we are not afraid. I'm not going there to want to stay there forever. I will not justice, even if it's for 1 time, 2 times, doesn't matter. So my goal is to serve. And again, I want to thank everyone for coming out here. Remember to support everybody. And I think I have a feeling that this is the time, our opportunity to turn Texas blue. So let's embrace it and go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next judge is Audra Riley. She is also running for the Criminal Court of Appeals, place 6.
I feel kind of honored that this is the first time that all 3 of you have been in the same room. How nice.
Thank you, and good evening, Richardson area Democrats. My name is Judge Audra Riley. I currently serve as your presiding judge for Criminal District Court 3 in Dallas County. This is my 2nd term, and I am running for the Court of Criminal Appeals, place 4. Just to let you all know a little bit about me, I've always been doing something with criminal justice. My undergrad degree was in criminal justice. Went to law school, my focus was on criminal justice, criminal law, evidence. And then I went to the DA's office in Dallas County, stayed there for about 10 years, tried multiple cases from the misdemeanor all the way up to capital murder. From that point, I went into private practice, and I focused on criminal law because that's what I love, that's what I do. And after being a criminal defense attorney, I decided to run for judge. And thankfully, for you all who voted for me and for the citizens of Dallas County, I am now in my 2nd term as the criminal district judge. As a criminal district judge, I do hear the more serious offenses, and I'm talking a little bit about what I do right now because I think it's important. Because when you are running for the highest court in Texas, the criminal court in Texas, it's important to have the groundwork, and that's what I have. It's important to have the experience. It's important to have been in the trenches. And as a prosecutor, defense attorney, and also when I was in undergrad, I also worked for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice as a corrections officer. So I've seen what it looks like after a person gets sentenced and they are now serving time. So that's the type of experience that I bring. I am also like Judge Purdy. I am on the presidential cycle. So I have the opportunity to run for this bench. I am asking you for your support because first of all, it's been over 30 years since a Democrat has been elected to sit at the highest court. And it's important for Democrats to also be in this court because what are we about? We're all about fairness, equality, balance. And right now, it's just not balanced. The Court of Criminal Appeals, they hear automatically death row cases, as well as cases that could hinder or has hindered someone's constitutional rights. So I'm happy to answer any questions or talk to anyone. Again, my name is Audra Riley, and I hope to have your support.
Finally, I'm happy to introduce Holly Taylor. She is running for place 9 on the Criminal Court of Appeals, and she's going to be to give us a little bit bigger, broader picture of the whole judicial situation. She came all the way from Austin, y'all.
Hey, Richardson area Democrats, are you ready to flip this state?
Yeah!
I'm going to need a little bit more. Hey, Democrats, are you ready to flip this state? Good. We're going to need every bit of that energy because our rights and freedoms are under attack. The rule of law itself is under attack.
Yeah.
Our democracy is under attack. And you've heard all the speakers so far talk to you about how important their different judicial benches are, including the Court of Criminal Appeals that Judge Riley and Oki Anyam and I are running for. It is true that if you care about your rights and freedoms, and you care about our government, and you care about upholding our Constitution, you should care about the Court of Criminal Appeals and the Texas Supreme Court, but you should care about all the judicial races, every single one. And the court that Judge Purdy is running for, the Fifth Court of Appeals, every single one of these courts is critical. Right now, especially where judges have a 400% increase in threats of violence on their lives, especially when they stand up for the rule of law and make powerful people unhappy. Right now is when we must stand up for our courts. And we can win with James and we can win with Gina, but if we lose the courts, we will lose everything we fought for. Are you with me? Yeah. Awesome. It's really important, and I will tell you it's so important to me that my campaign is going to every one of the 254 counties in Texas. It's true. I'm not fooling. We've been to 130 counties so far, 58,000 miles on my car. I've had to replace all 4 tires. And now you're all looking at me going, I know she is crazy. She must be crazy. You may be right. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you why I decided to run for this important court and why I get up every morning and get back in my daggone car. And it is because I'm a criminal defense attorney now. I've been practicing law for over 25 years, but I spent over 17 years as a prosecutor in Travis County. I've prosecuted government corruption. This guy named Congressman Tom DeLay, who tried him for money laundering. You may have heard of that one. I've prosecuted civil rights violations. but mostly I prosecuted violent crime, things like murder, sexual assault, and child abuse, working to keep my community safe and to stand up for victims and survivors. And I believe it is critical, especially right now, that we have judges on our high courts who know what government corruption looks like. I think it is critical that we have judges on our high courts who know what a civil rights violation looks like, just ask the folks in Houston this week. I think it is critical that we have judges on our high courts that know what a pedophile looks like. But that's why I'm running. About 5 years ago, in December of 2020, I started working with the Conviction Integrity Unit in my county. That unit, just like the one here in Dallas County, investigates claims of wrongful conviction brought to them by organizations like the Innocence Project of Texas. And they do things like DNA testing, scientific review, interviewing witnesses who testified at trial, and finding those witnesses who were never called to testify at trial. And going into that work, when I was asked to do it, I took it very, very seriously. But I have to tell you, having spent over 17 years as a prosecutor in that county, I didn't think we were going to have any wrongful convictions in my county. Well, I was wrong. And through this in-depth investigative process, we discovered in case after case that we had innocent people behind bars due to work that my office had done. But what was particularly devastating to me is that I found that a few of those cases were mine. In other words, believing that someone was guilty, believing that they were dangerous, I fought to put somebody behind bars, only to find years later, in one case 23 years later, that the person was completely innocent. It was horrific, and I fought hard with my team for justice for these people. I'm happy to say that as of January of this year, all those people have now been exonerated and freed from prison. Thank you, but I know it's not enough. This work revealed to me the cracks in the very foundation of our criminal justice system. I saw how the system can fail us and the hard work that it's going to take to fix it. What's more, in some of these cases, we had a double injustice. Not only did we have the unspeakable injustice of having an innocent person behind bars for a crime they did not commit, but we had the person who truly committed the crime, the person who was truly guilty, the person who was truly dangerous, walk free. And in one of those cases alone, not one I had originally prosecuted, we had an innocent man behind bars for over 30 years, while the true perpetrator walked free and committed more crimes across Texas. We've already found 2 sexual assault victims from this individual, including a 19-year-old, 30 years after he walked free, and we put an innocent man behind bars. That is the potential harm. And the Innocence Project estimates that there are between 3,000 and 9,000 innocent people behind bars in Texas prisons and jails. This is why I get up every morning and get in my car and drive another 1,000 miles. I feel passionately about this. And no county is too red, no community is too rural, and no Texan is too conservative for me to talk with them, and more importantly, to listen to them in my journey. But I have some good news from the road. It may seem dark out there, and when I talk to folks in rural communities, sometimes they have trouble feeling hopeful, but I gotta tell you, I am seeing reason for hope across rural Texas, and I'm bringing the news to you. I'll give you 2 examples. Number 1, Abilene, Texas, out in far west Texas, Taylor County, one of the reddest counties in the state. There is a new group there I discovered when I went there for a barbecue called the Liberal Moms of Abilene. I met the president of this organization. People are laughing, they exist. There's a similar organization in Lubbock. The woman who's the president asked me, she said, guess how many members we have? I did not want to insult her. So I said, oh, I don't know, 100? She said, no, we have 996 members. I expect to surpass 1,000 by the end of the week. By the end of the week. And that is in a city with 100,000 people. 1,000 moms in a city with 100,000 people is a powerful force. And I've actually learned since then that they've had some of their endorsed candidates win in local races. And that's West Texas. Okay, let's talk about Southeast Texas. I was in Southeast Texas recently, and I participated in a bipartisan town hall, which was hosted by the Democratic and Republican parties in that county. And they invited many candidates to participate and people from the community. And most of the people in that audience were Republicans and independents. There only one Republican candidate showed up. Several Democrats showed up. It was a town hall. People asked tough questions. We did our best to answer them as truthfully as we could. And at the end of that gathering, a crowd of people came up and talked to us, and they said, we were shocked. You told the truth. They told us they would support us, and one man walked up to me and he said, I am a lifelong Republican, and I have never voted for a Democrat, and I have never been to an event that changed my mind about who I would vote for until tonight. He took a stack of my lit and business cards to go distribute to his law firm and his friends and neighbors. That is the kind of reception we are getting across the state. So, times may seem dark, but it is always darkest before the dawn, and the dawn is coming. My name again is Holly Taylor, and I'm running statewide across Texas for the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. We have a little bit of time. Thank you so much, Holly. We have a little bit of time. If you guys have some questions for these judges, that we could have them come up here maybe and just talk with you about any questions you might have. Anybody have questions? Let me get them back up here. Come on in. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you about the 15. How that will be.
Mark is going to make his way up. While Mark is on his way, who has another question? I have a question. The criminal court of appeals, is it like the Supreme Court where they all sit and do the thing at the same time?
Yes, the Court of Criminal Appeals is very, very similar to the Texas Supreme Court. They both have 9 jurists on them. They're in the same building across a big shiny floor from each other on the Capitol grounds. There are 9 justices on the Texas Supreme Court, and there are 9 judges on the Court of Criminal Appeals. And so the saying goes that there is no justice on the Court of Criminal Appeals.
So you had a question about the 15? What was it?
I said, how did it come to be that governor made
Repeat the questions.
How did the 15th Court of Appeals come out? I'm probably not the best person to talk about that. I don't know if Judge Purdy has any knowledge about that or was paying attention to it. But my understanding is it was coming up in like 2019, 2021, but no one moved legislation to do it because there's a recognition that Travis County and the Third Court of Appeals was moving to Democratic control, although not total until this last election. senator that moved the bill was John Huffman, and pretty clearly Governor Abbott's fingerprints all over it.
To just add a little context to that, so just a few years ago, the governor established business courts in the state of Texas. Those business cases used to be in the district court where I sit, and the legislation that sponsored the business courts was that if you've ever followed any of the litigation up in Delaware, there is business courts. And if you ever look at articles of incorporation, most of them are incorporated into Delaware. So there was some type of notion that business courts can just handle the business disputes, and they were going to get more consistent rulings, and corporations and businesses could be comfortable if they came to Texas, that they would not have rulings that were inconsistent. Although I'm not aware of these inconsistent rulings that they thought existed, but that was the creation of the business courts. As opposed to appealing those business court matters over to the 5th District Court of Appeals that used to hear those appeals, the governor said, I will create a court of appeals like I have created the business courts, and we will just have appeals go back and forth to those particular individuals. So that just provides you a little bit of context, but they are created courts.
And actually, that raises a couple of other issues about the business courts specifically. There were 11 of those that were created. They are not elected courts in Texas, and we can have an hour-long, probably actually a day-long discussion about whether elected courts on a partisan basis is a good idea or not. I have a friend who's very active in Kansas right now because they have a constitutional amendment that's coming up in August in their primary to go to partisan elected judges. But these judges were all appointed by Governor Abbott also, and they get replaced every 2 years. So if we're talking about consistency, how is that going to create consistency? Because we're talking about $5 or $10 million cases I'm not thinking this in I'm not thinking the right word here. But $5 or $10 million that were at issue in the court, these cases take a while to get through the courts, often more than 2 years, and I'm sure Judge Frey can discuss that also. How are we getting consistency in decisions if we're reappointing these judges every 2 years? And again, these judges are beholden to the governor.
I wonder if the right after that happened, some big influx of big companies coming here. That's the only thing that's helping figure out what
I wouldn't say that it's absolutely related, but it sure seems like it's suspicious.
Go ahead, Gabe.
Go ahead.
Does the state Democratic Committee help any of the candidates financially and supporting the financially? Is there a function where the state Democratic Party support you? And the other question is, do any of you come together with other Democratic positions that are campaigning to gain the support of each other? If you're running for a position, if there's another Democrat running for a position who's popular, you guys work together. That's the question.
Okay. With respect to your first question, do we get any type of particular support from the state Democratic Party? I'm not aware of any particular individual support from the state Democratic Party. I'll let some of the other candidates speak to that. I can tell you, I'm familiar with what comes into my account, and nothing has come from the state Democratic Party. However, The second part of your question was, is there any particular type of collaboration or coordination? And that definitely is happening. Now that the primaries are over and everyone has duked it out, and those particular individuals have advanced as a Democratic nominee, it's more about coordinated campaigns. I've seen on some of the tables, you have a long particular card, slate card, if you will. Those are all Democrats, okay? And so when we're meeting up, knocking on doors, I don't have just my literature knocking on door. I have that particular piece of literature that shows you from the top to the bottom, Democrats that are running for those seats and why you should support it. It gives some particular information to whoever's door I'm knocking, that this particular judge or this particular candidate is running for this position. It gives you a little blurb about them, where to go if you want to do some more research on them. So there are a lot of coordinated efforts after those primaries. You know, the primaries, we had a few people that pushed it out until May. And so now we're all in coordinated efforts. But I think those coordinated efforts are much more county-wide. As you see, though, we have some statewide, the Court of Criminal Appeals. They link up together and they do things together as well, because we all know there's power in numbers, and you can't work your day job and be everywhere else that you need to be. So we try to offer coverage when we can. Anyone else?
Paul, did you talk? I know you were going to ask the Supreme Court justices candidates to come, so you know them. Can you talk to us about who's running?
Sure. So we have 4 seats. So she asked, could I talk a little bit about the candidates for the Texas Supreme Court, because none of them were able to be here tonight. So there's 9 positions, like I said, on the Texas Supreme Court. 4 of them, almost half, are up, okay, are on the ballot this year, including the extraordinarily powerful and important position of Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court, which is kind of the administrative head of the entire court system in Texas. And I'm not going to say anything about who holds it now, because I was taught not to say anything if I couldn't say something good. But, so, that is what's going on right now. There are 4 seats up, and there are 4 women running for those seats. One of them is a district judge, highly respected district judge from Houston. The other 3 are justices on the Austin Court of Appeals. And they're all women, and the interesting thing about this, number 1, we have never had a woman chief justice in Texas. Well, guess what? We're about to have one on January 1. And she's also been a foster mom and done all this other amazing stuff. We also have 2 other judges from that court. One of them is a Latina, and her parents came from Cuba. So she has history. She understands the plight of immigrants. And the other one is a veteran who jumped out of airplanes and has a little girl. So we have a really interesting slate of candidates, and almost all of them are board certified. Only 6% of Texas attorneys are board certified in a field. I think they may all be board certified in their fields, and I am as well. So we have a very high, and I think y'all are too, right? So we have a highly credentialed group of candidates this year, very diverse with great backgrounds. We've got a strong panel running. And the Texas Supreme Court has never had a majority female members. When we sweep this race, 7 of the 9 judges on the Texas Supreme Court will be women. So and I'm going to say something, Judge Riley, there has never been a black woman on any of our statewide courts ever. There will be on January 1. Yeah. My highly respected judge will join the Court of Criminal Appeals. We are changing the face of justice in Texas. Yeah.
This is a little personal anecdote, but it's definitely very important to get both me and Justice Priscilla Triana elected. Me to the 15th Court of Appeals and her to the Texas Supreme Court. My highest point as an attorney is I got one of her district court decisions overturned on appeal against the Texas Board of Nursing. It's about time that she gets a chance to grade my papers again.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
I want to do a little call to action here because y'all have had an opportunity tonight to meet some of the great candidates we have running for the Court of Appeals and statewide. So when you're talking to your friends who are very excited about James Calorico or Jeannie Nahosa, I hope that you will tell them, be sure to vote for them and the judges. That needs to be at the bottom of everything you're saying because we all have our group of influence. And that is how you can make a difference. If you're in Dallas County, we have some of these over here. You can see Zach. They are block walking. This is a Dallas County judicial slate, basically. All the Democrats who are running, who will be on the ballot. People can carry this into the polling place with them. And they can learn a little bit about everybody running for Court of Appeals, and then on the back, the District Court, County Court, down to JP Court, down at the back. And so if you need to grab a few of these, if you have friends who you think would like to take a look at these, see Zach. Or if you are interested in knocking on doors for these judicial candidates, and perhaps maybe if you want to talk to folks about James Calorico, you can do that too. You can see Zach. We have block walks going out every weekend, just about every weekend. Some of them are coordinated with Zach Herbert, who's running for State House in this area. So there's plenty of opportunities to make a difference.
To piggyback on what Liz said, we are walking starting on Saturday. We're going to be meeting at the Blue Hub, which is over on 635 in Harvest Hill. We have those slate cards. We also have some that have the statewide folks on them. There's some on your tables, and I've got additional. But I want to mention why this matters to vote for your judges. You know, in 2018, we flipped the 5th District Court of Appeals, which was under Republican rule for about 30 years. And we brought Democratic dominance all the way until 2024. We only lost that court. There were 8 people up, slate of 8. We lost 7 of those races by less than 1 point. We won one of those races by 1,596 votes. All right, out of over 1 million people that voted in that election, we lost that court by less than 2,000 votes. And why that matters is because for 30 years, it was under Republican rule and became an echo chamber. As they said, Judge Purdy said a few minutes ago, no matter what, your family case, your civil case, your criminal case, if you are unhappy with the ruling you got in Dallas County or Common County or whatever county you might be, they have to take your case. They have to look at it. They have to hear your appeal. It's your court of last resort to get a fair chance. And so, for 30 years, Republicans were shutting down cases left and right. They didn't listen, they didn't care, and they just upheld the trial court rulings, and they dismissed jury verdicts all the time. You got hit by a car, you got $5 million, and they disagreed, they overturned it. So a study was done after the 2018 election that showed the 5th District Court of Appeals started evening out. Instead of always siding with one side, the court started evening out with a balanced ruling on those cases. And that means a lot to people like you and me if we get hit by a car, or we get convicted of something that maybe we're innocent of. Justice Rychek, formerly, she was one of the slate of members that got elected in 2018. She lost by less than 2,000 votes in 2024. She's one of the slate mates with Judge Purdy and Judge Plumlee this year to get back on the court. But she told a story the other day of a man that was convicted. And one of the reasons he was convicted was because the prosecution used rap lyrics. He was a rapper. They used the lyrics that he had out in the public domain to convict him in his case. So she wrote a dissent. She would have overturned the ruling. And while that doesn't sound like a big deal, that dissent made it all the way to the Court of Criminal Appeals, who actually took her side and adopted that and said, yeah, this needs to be vacated. So it may sound like it's not a big deal to you and me every day, but it's a big deal to a lot of people. So when you're out talking to your friends, as Liz said, Make sure that they know not to just vote at the very top of the ticket, but vote for every single Democrat. Don't worry about the names. These names are great. But look for the D next to their name, and that's who you know who to vote for, right? And a lot of people say, well, why are we voting for judges on a partisan basis anyway? Isn't justice supposed to be blind? Is it supposed to be nonpartisan? And that's true, and it should be, and it always should be. But something that's important to remember is our values. We know who we are as Democrats. We know how we look at the law. We know that we try to look at it as equally as possible. And we try to make sure there's equity within our justice system. You can't say that about the Republican Party, right? And so when you don't know about why you should vote for a Democratic judge, you can always tell them because they care. They care about fairness. They care about listening. And if you are ever in that courtroom, you're going to have your day be heard and listened to and seen. And we can't say that about the other side. So we're going to be doing a lot. I was actually just meeting with Jenny today. We're going to be doing a lot in Richardson. So we've got tons and tons of doors to go through. If everybody in here in this room were to knock 100 doors in the month of September, we would knock every likely Democratic voter in Richardson and make sure that they know about these great candidates that are on the slate card and making sure that they need to turn out in November. So please do something. There's always something for you to do, whether it's making a phone call or knocking a door or writing a check. But all of the above goes far and wide, all right? Thanks.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think that this was worth the time tonight. Thank you so much, all of you, for running, for everything that you're doing, and for coming tonight and talking with us about this. Thank you. We have run up on the time. I'm going to just tell you, next month, we're looking forward to a really good meeting. I think most of them are pretty good, but next month, I'm really looking forward to it. If there was something that I could do, and this is just about me, but just something that I could do if I wasn't the, president of Richardson Area Democrats, I would be working on the environment. And so next month, we are going to be focusing on energy and environment. We have the candidate for the Railroad Commission, which, as you may know, has nothing to do with railroads, everything to do with energy, our oil and gas and industry in Texas. John Rosenthal will be here with us next month, and he's a great speaker and just extremely qualified for this job. And then also I'm excited that Clayton Tucker is going to be here. He is running for the Agriculture Commissioner. And so he's going to be talking to us about the data centers that are all over the state and what we're going to do when we get elected to change that. So this has everything to do with energy and our environment. And I hope that we can count on seeing you guys next month. In the meantime, we've got doors to knock and phone calls to make and people to talk to. And we've got around 100 days left until early voting starts. So let's get to work. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for everything you're doing. And good night.